So, Billie Eilish, huh?
Who's that?
I don't like this.
Gotcha. Gotcha. I won that round.
That was one thing that you, like, do you have that with me where I'll say something and it just takes the life out of you?
Yeah, 100%.
That just happened to me where I was just like, oh, wow, I don't want to be talking.
To you.
It was just like, oh, there it goes, all the momentum. See you later, momentum. Bye.
Bye, momentum. Yeah, Billie Eilish.
But I feel like you were going to come in hot with something. So what were you going to come in hot with?
I was going to come in hot with, this episode's all about change.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Some people like it. Some people don't.
Okay.
But it's inevitable. Things change. This podcast is changing.
Yeah. And I think one thing with change, to not be cheesy about it, it's not always evolving.
No.
Change sometimes is just change and it's just different. And sometimes it's worse. Sometimes it's better. It just is what it is.
Some people won't like this change.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
I just got it. I was like, the neighbors? What?
Well, we definitely don't like them.
Need to change.
That is bad change. The neighbors are freaking out to lunch. But for another day, for another story.
I mean, that is more just like a story of holy
guacamole.
Just like what the society is and economy is. It's like there is a full family living in a studio apartment.
Oh yeah,
like
it's crazy. Billie Eilish, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Good music. That's about it.
Okay, this is actually pissing me off right now. It's just so not. We have had so many conversations in the last couple of days that I feel like goes kind of into like loosely what we're talking about today and loosely just about like how you can develop these weird emotions and how you live through that. And like I think I kind of want to talk about like also, is there an importance to self-esteem and like how to build that in kids, but then in people. And like we talked about Billie Eilish being like so a good role model for that of be unique, but not okay. I guess I was in these solo conversations by myself.
You were talking to yourself. That is not what I said.
No, you didn't say being a good role model. What I'm bridging into is with the self-esteem thing and having these like emotions that are probably not very beneficial to people. She is very unique in a way that's not pushed. She's very, and she's not unique because she's trying to be necessarily unique. It doesn't come off like she's just, this is what it is. And there's no like, oh, and I'm going to be funky about that.
Well, this is where I was being very specific with her and her music.
Sure.
Not
her
everything
as a person.
Else.
Sure.
Yeah. So when you say like...
her music is a good representation of that then maybe.
I think her music is a very good representation of her, but I don't know about all the other outside stuff.
Sure.
I was strictly talking about her music. When we were having the conversation of like...
Yes.
She has just figured out how to be herself.
Yes.
And like said, GFY to everybody else. Like... I'm going to make music how I want to make music. And I think that's why she's so popular or has just made such big waves, because it is so, it's such weird music. It's different. It's not the typical pop that you hear. It's not generic. Like, it's very different, but it's very good. And I think it's because she has just always been like, I'm going to make the music I want to make. That's it. The other stuff, you talking about like her as a person. I'm not talking about her as a person.
Maybe I should have been more specific. I'm not talking about her as a person. When I'm saying her, I am thinking about her music. Like what?
Okay, well then that's just what we need to clarify.
Okay, yeah. What her music is.
Just the music.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, there's so much I think people call it authentic or not authentic or whatever, but I don't even, to get even more cheesy than this already is, like, it's so much deeper than that. Like, it's just, she has been able to tap into who she is in this avenue. And
Right.
it's like, that's just what it's going to be. To where other people just have such a hard time doing that in any realm. Which does kind of lead into what we're talking about, I feel like.
Yeah. What does the word gaslight mean? Because if I understand it correctly, I feel like that's kind of what you just did to me.
You know what?
That was so wild. I can't even hear what you're saying, honestly, because I can't get over how. I mean, wow.
Gaslight is one of those words that is so abused and overused and not really even a term that should be used and is useful.
Okay.
Oh, you're upset because I disagreed with you? Congratulations.
No, I'm not upset that you disagreed with me. In my how that just went down, it sounded like my perception of it was, if it was like when you have a conversation with somebody but you didn't know it was supposed to be a private conversation and then you bring it up and they're like, I never said that. We never talked about that at all. Well, I'm like, okay, I guess I didn't pick up on the cues that we weren't supposed to talk about that in front of people or whatever, but it's like, no, that wasn't me. I'm like, yes, it was. That's what it felt like. If we just had similar versions of this conversation, and then you're like, yeah, who cares? I'm like, well, it seemed like you cared a little bit earlier.
I'm interested in it. I just wanted to clarify. I'm not talking about her as a person.
Sure.
I'm only talking about her with the music.
Okay.
And the way that you were laying it out to me was like, whoa. This is not what I was talking about.
Got it.
Like, you're just like, her as a person and she's unique.
Okay,
and
sure.
This
Yeah,
and that.
yeah,
And I'm like, nope, not what I wanted.
So technically, no, then we didn't have that conversation of her as a person, which is also not what I meant, but I should have been more specific to talking about her music. That was just in my head, what I was talking about. But, okay.
Yeah, I'm only talking about her music. I don't know her as a person.
Right.
From what I see, not a fan.
We need to move on.
Why?
From this. This is blowing. I can't let it go. How crazy this is going so far. I mean,
it's so funny how
it is out of nowhere rage, like to the top.
To me, what's hilarious is how humans can have this moment where one person is so infuriated and the other person is like, everything's good.
I know.
I don't understand what you could be so mad about. You brought up something and I went, no. That is not what I was talking about.
We are so far beyond that. It's just the way that, I don't know.
Do you want me to piss you off even more?
Sure.
You gotta stop screaming away from the mic.
Screaming away from the mic? So I need to be like...
You need to be here and soothing.
Okay, so this is what I haven't figured out with the mics yet, is... yours, like your face is always showing. I feel like mine is always covered because I want it to be like this, because I don't want it... Down here, it makes sense more for the camera, but then we're like doing this. And that looks so stupid.
Oh, sure.
So is there a happy medium?
Just cover it.
Okay.
Don't worry about it.
Maybe more of the side, it'll be fine.
Yeah, and I think the sound is better than the...
Okay.
I don't know. I think people like to be able to... Just like when you're watching, it's like you want to... Part of hearing and listening is also seeing their mouth is moving.
I know.
So it's like you kind of just got to pick a lane, I guess.
Okay. I will try to do better with that today. Which is wild because my other job is the only skill is talking into my phone.
Yeah,
and
but you're not getting filmed doing it. So
Well,
it's
I'm
like you
also
don't
not
have
getting
to-
the feedback. Like, I don't know what I sound like.
No, there you sound good on the mic.
Well, I'm saying like there I can tell and I can adjust. Here I'm like,
Oh.
hope it's working.
Yeah.
Like I would do way better with headphones on.
Yeah, but also how our room is set up, we don't have soundproofing, so the headphones won't really even help that much either, I don't think. Because
okay.
where the audio gets mixed up is mine is picking up you because you scream and then are way back here.
Got it. Okay.
So like you need to be on top of it and into it so that mine isn't picking up you and yours isn't picking up me. And
Roger.
then just
Okay. I gotcha.
so it's so funny how unaware you are of how loud you are.
I feel like I've gotten worse over the years.
9 p.m. 2 nights ago, and you were just sitting here yelling at me. Not like angered, like having a very fun, light conversation, but you're just so excited, you're screaming.
It's not even because I was so excited. That wasn't a fun conversation. It's not like it was a enthusiastic conversation. It was just like I thought I was talking at a normal volume. I think
I always do it to him, like, hey, you don't need to yell at me.
Yeah. It's gotten worse, I think. Like my whole family is so loud, and it's something that a lot of people complain about. Like outside of our family, they make fun of that. So I'm like, I try to be conscious of that. But I think over the years, it's just gotten worse.
So what are you so angry about with this Billie Eilish thing?
I think we need to move on because it's just...
I want to figure it out.
It's okay.
I want to peel back the layers.
This is the... I think why I'm really annoyed by it is it seems like when we were having these conversations about her music, about just kids in general with this and like your movement class and finding like ways to like be individualistic but still being true to who you are, and then like as adults of that for ourselves, but then for kids, like how to build systems that like thrives in and not promotes like you just got to be unique in any way possible, even if it's not true to you. Like I feel like we had good conversations about it and you were very insightful with how you were communicating, and then you're showing up now and like you're just like a regular stupid boy about it. You're just like, yeah, I have nothing to say. I'm like, well, okay, you were like a poet talking about it the other day. So and now you're like, this is the time that you're gonna not go into anything. Like it was like I'm trying to bring up a topic of something we had good conversations about.
Yeah.
And you're so not yes-anding me.
Yeah.
And if it's a conversation you don't want to have, you don't want to have. But it's like,
no, I'm cool to have it.
Can't you just pull a couple gems from what you said so many other times the other day?
I can have it. I mean, part of the problem is just like, I don't remember what I even said.
Well, clearly it's just that you were making it up. And you didn't believe it because
Just lying
it's not
to
like
you.
you need to say it in the specific way, but the fact that you have no thoughts on it now, like it doesn't need to be exactly what you said. Obviously, that would be weird, but
Well, I feel like you know this, and the people who have been watching this for long enough probably know, like, I just start to ramble, and then I'm just thinking of things as I'm talking and continue to talk. It's like, oh, that's another idea to it, or that adds to it. That's just how I talk and communicate. So
sometimes you talk like that, and sometimes you go, yeah, she's great.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And whoop, it just stops everything in its tracks.
To kill the momentum. Yeah, I'm a momentum killer.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Well, when we're not on the podcast, you're a flowing conversation machine. Then we get on the podcast when it's about conversations. You're going, no.
Okay. Well, I can ramble about it. She's great. What I remember from the conversation is like talking about her music. I mean, I already said it. Like, she has just found a way to be her in this avenue, and she like it's that thing of you have no questions about what you should be doing or who you are or how you should be creating the music or whatever. And I think people have that in these avenues, and that's what makes her special and unique compared to other people that are generic and boring and whatever. It's like when you see actors or actresses and they're just so much more above and beyond, or dancers even too. There's just something to the eye that's like, this is just a different thing. And I don't like when people abuse that. They think that everybody's just this, like they're always pointing out, oh, look how unique or look how like special they are, whatever. It's like, no, this is a small subset group of people that have really found their thing. And I think part of it is just her music is so unique. It's so outside of what other people do that you take people like, I don't know, like Taylor Swift, Olivia Rodrigo. It's just like, I think, what's her name? Dua Lipa, I think, has a little bit of that. And it's just like her sound is a little bit different, but it's still very generic. It's still very much what everybody else is doing, to where it's like, there's something special about what Billie is doing and what it is of being so unique. It just is like on a different playing field compared to all these other people. And they may be being totally themselves and totally who they are, but it's like Billie just has this other.
Well, it's like, and that's okay
thing.
that yours doesn't stand out.
Yeah, I mean, all of them are successful and whatever, but it's like, if your true to yourself thing is like, I don't know, just what the rest of music sounds like, you're just not going to stand out as much.
Well, and that's what I think another lie that we tell kids, or what our generation was told, of like, you're unique, you're going to like try to stand out, or like try to be the one that, you know, gets noticed or something, whether it's for traits that you have or how you look or whatever. That's like, that's not always going to happen. Like, you don't need to stand out.
Well, and that should not be the point. The point is to be who you are, like figure out even who that is or what that is. I think that's where people attach to activities and things. It's like, I felt the most me in athletics. Like, this is just where I feel the most comfortable. This is where I like have the most fun, or I feel like I'm able to be, I don't know, whatever. And even that is on such a small scale compared to everything else. And I think people just have their thing, or they maybe haven't found that thing, or it's like, I mean, it's so difficult. It's so difficult to really sit into like what is authentically you, because there's so many outside factors, which somewhat, just to sprinkle in what we're kind of talking about with the embarrassment thing, I think that has such a big role in pulling us back from being us. Like, Billie's music, like, that had to have been really hard to put out to the world in whatever way she started doing that. Like, this is not what you typically hear. So like, the embarrassment is, it's easy to go on stage and sing somebody else's song. Everybody's already heard that song. It's not embarrassing. Now it's just up to like, can you sing well or not? And that's where that part comes in. But it's like, to have a completely different sound than everybody else and like be you and unique, and her like whispery singing voice, like, that's so out there and so putting yourself on the line that's a whole different type of embarrassment, or getting over that, than like, I don't know, like, I'm just gonna sing a song that everybody's already heard before.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, is I wonder if that's why we struggle with, like, we've talked about that a lot recently with dancers, like finding their own artistic avenue and artistic image and voice and sound, and like what all that looks like. But then you take it to obviously a regular person, like why we're so connected to, and especially as younger kids, but I think because of social media, you're starting to see that with older generations too. Like, it's easier to attach to an image that has already been created. Like, yes, I'm a part of this group, I attach to this community, I attach to this way of thinking or dressing or doing these kinds of videos on social media, because that's less vulnerable, which means it's less embarrassing. Like you're going like, well, if they don't like what I do here, or they don't like how I talk, or they don't like how I dress, that's okay because it's not actually me.
Yeah.
Versus you exploring your true authenticity to the truest word. Then if people don't like it, then it's like, oh, they actually don't like you.
Yeah. Totally.
Not just this version you're trying to be or like act like.
And that's where, I mean, it's most dancers, most musicians, most athletes, most everybody. You're fitting into a certain mold that you've seen before and has been seen as kind of accepted and how you're supposed to be or how you should be. And I think because we're both, the closest thing we're probably to is the dance world, it's easy to use that example of like, there's dance moves and everybody's doing those moves and everybody's trying to be the replica of that. And then there's certain people that it's like, you're doing the same move everybody else is, but you look different. And there's something that you have figured out. And this is where my opinion goes to it, is like, you just know who you are as a dancer and how you look and how you move and how you operate. And you really sit into that and you really are just like aware and comfortable in it. Like you're not trying to fit a mold, or you're almost trying to be a little bit outside of the box, but to, like you said, a really true form of yourself. Because you have these people too that like at auditions or whatever, where the advice to these kids is always like, be different, be unique, like stand out, whatever. So now these kids are just doing crazy, weird, whatever. I mean, like you said, how many kids were getting off the stage for one of the auditions? And it's like, the first person who did that is baller.
Sure.
But now everybody else doing it after that,
you're just a copycat.
Now you're copycatting to where it's not as cool now. It's like you have to find it, and you can't be.
But that's even take that example. Hard. Like, okay, the first person, like the first kid that gets off the stage, it's something like so, I think, embedded into us to where we're trying to find like, ooh, that person's funky, or that person's slimy, or they're manipulating the situation, that I almost think you can tell. And maybe it's just because it's practice. Like maybe I wouldn't be able to tell that in a job interview, but I've done these auditions for hours and hours and so many times now. You can tell that kid that gets off the stage, or like we're sitting on the stage and they come up to us, you can tell when that's so not them.
Oh yeah.
And when it's some kid where it's like, oh, you're just very aggressive and attack, but you know how to do it tastefully and cool. And then there's some kids that are trying to do it, and it's like, ooh, go back into your element, because we'll probably notice you more doing that. Not that it's about getting noticed all the time, but it feels like uncomfortable because you know they're a little bit uncomfortable. Versus just sit into what's you. Yeah, what's you.
And I think that's what's so hard, is to dissect even what that means. But I think it's somewhat of a feeling. Like it's a, which is why when people get older, they become more of themselves, because they've had more practice. They've had more even just like testing out different personalities potentially, or, you know, other random whatever, what they wear and how they operate. And they just start to figure out who they are more and more and more and what's important to them. And as a kid, like you have no idea, like you're so influenced by everything. So then when you do see somebody who's like not influenced and they've just become who they are, it's like you are 10, 15 years ahead of everybody. And you just hope they can hang on to that.
It's noticeable in a way of, you can tell the shift that you have in your own body. Like there's a dancer that works for the company that we are with. She's one of the assistants. And like you've explained, like maybe I've explained it this way. Like she's so comfortable in what she does and how she performs and how she dances and how she moves, that it's like she's taking you along for the ride. She's not throwing it at you and going, watch me. And it's like comfortable and feels safe to watch her, because you're not like, I don't know what's going to happen. Like, you're going to throw something to be crazy, and like, I'm going to get uncomfortable because you're being uncomfortable and you're embarrassed. So now I'm embarrassed for you. That's just like, oh, you're so solid in what you're doing that I want to watch, because I know no one's going to get embarrassed. I know no one's going to get uncomfortable or try something that's out of their element, because you're so sitting into that.
Yeah. It makes the audience, I think as the audience, you're kind of watching, especially with the age group that this is, you're kind of critiquing and watching for mistakes or mess ups, or like whether this is going to be good or not. And she's at this level where it's like, you're not even wondering if she's going to mess up or make a mistake. It's like, you're just waiting to see what's coming next and what she's going to be doing the whole time. And I think, like you said, it's that comfortability, and you as the audience member are safe. I noticed that watching fights too. It's like, there's some guys that it's like, oh, you are fully in control of what's going on. And it's so apparent and so noticeable. And then there's other guys where it's like, it's touch and go, and you're like, oh, what's going to happen? How's this going to work? Whatever. And
I think you notice that with people too. When you are like the person that I was talking about, that dancer, she is like that as a person too. That like people that are, and I can think of a few other people that like their personality, it seems like they have figured it out, or they have figured out where their lane is or how they want to live, that those people feel safe and like, oh, I can trust what's going to happen because you're not flighty and gonna switch it up or do something different in this situation versus this situation, or this person comes along and now you're gonna act differently. Like, this is, you're solid and you're consistent. There's like a leadership role in that almost, because it's like, oh, that person, I can hitch a ride with what they're doing.
Well, it's just they're so comfortable to be around. Like, you don't feel,
there's gonna be no surprises.
Yeah, well, and I wonder if that's just a emotional intelligence, or if it's I don't know. Like, there's no, which maybe kind of what you said, like a self-esteem thing. Maybe they just have a very healthy self-esteem that.
How important do you think having a good self-esteem is? To me, that's one of those words or phrases that I was always like, as a kid, like when people were like, dance is fun. And I'm like, get over yourself. Like, that's silly to say that. Self-esteem was kind of like that for me. I don't think that now, but I'm just curious, what's your opinion on that phrase?
I don't know. I don't like it's so much more nuanced than that. Like, just have a healthy self-esteem. Okay, you fucking do that. Like, what are we talking about? It's like, just be happy. Yeah, okay. Just be happy.
Right.
Sure. Sounds great. Like, tell me how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
How do you have a good self-esteem? That's where I've always gotten annoyed with that. I don't have the, like, puke about it, but I have the, like, that's just so not how the world is. That's not how life is. Like, just have a good self-esteem. Even the people that do, it's like there's certain avenues or certain situations where they maybe don't or are not gonna.
I think that's what it is. It's not a blanket trait you can just have, I don't think. Like, unless you're one of those people, like I said, you're very self-aware and you're kind of solid, but that's so rare to find those people or to actually develop that consistently.
And those are psychopaths. Those are serial killers.
No, I'm saying the people that, like, you just feel kind of solid around. Maybe their self-esteem is good, I would think, or they have some sort of, like, awareness of themselves.
They might not even have a good self-esteem, but they have a really...
They know how they are.
They have a really high intelligence of how to make people feel comfortable.
Oh,
gotcha. It's like, we want to always boil it down into ideas into one thing or into even broad things, to where it's like somebody can be super comfortable to be around and talk to and really easygoing, and they could be a crazy person. Or they could talk about their issues and it's like, wow, you are really messed up. And they're like, yeah, but they're just so sweet and so nice and so easy to talk to and whatever, that it's like, you don't even realize that they're completely broken inside because they're so good at communicating, which is probably how they've also found a way in the world, is like, I can't just talk about my life all the time or how messed up I am. I need to figure out a way to kind of mask this. And
okay, yeah, I feel like that's so many different routes to go on that.
exactly, like, and that's everything. Like, it's not a self-esteem thing, it's not an emotional intelligence thing, it's like it could be anything and everything.
Sure.
Kind of like what we talked about the other day with the embarrassment stuff. So it's like, I didn't realize how intense that is for me.
Yeah.
Like, it drives everything.
So, okay, so with that, I feel like there's, just like the self-esteem, there's shades of it. Maybe this is different for every person, but what do you think the shades of emotion are with embarrassment? Like, because like we were kind of talking about yesterday, like for me, I don't get embarrassed that often, but the shades of emotions that I go through that are wrapped up in the umbrella of embarrassment is like the feeling stupid. That's where I'll feel embarrassed. So it's like, it's stupid. It's, like rejection sort of things. Like for some people, I think it could be like shame, or it could be, you know, just like, what's your avenues of embarrassment?
I think the big one's probably attention. Like, I just don't want attention, good or bad. Like, I don't want the eyes to be on me, which is hilarious doing this. And just for the record, I get drug into doing this. I don't choose to do this. But yeah, I mean, the biggest one I think to me is attention. I just don't like it. It's like we were talking about, like, I think almost everybody, if not everybody in my family, has the same thing, where it's like just the embarrassment. Being embarrassed is maybe one of the worst feelings, and we try to avoid that at all costs. And it's all the things you said too. It's like feeling stupid or being rejected or even just having attention on yourself. Like, I don't think any of us do a very good job of it. And I don't know exactly where that comes from or why that happened to so many of us. I think like small little examples of like, we're very nitpicky as a group, it seems like when, even just like in the beginning of this podcast, like you was talking about Billie Eilish, I'm like, whoa, I didn't say that.
Sure.
And it's like, I don't think that necessarily has anything to do with embarrassment. Like, I wouldn't be embarrassed if people thought like, oh, he thinks Billie Eilish is like super unique and weird and awesome and whatever. But I think I just have, and I think most of us in the family have this muscle to like avoid embarrassment. So making sure that we're very clear about what we're saying and you understand what I'm saying is important, because at some point, like, you're going to turn this against me. And that for sure happens in my family. Like, I remember when you said this thing and, well, you said this and this and this. And now it's embarrassing because, yeah, I did say those things. So now it's like, I have to.
I didn't say it. You said it, just for the record.
To where, like, now everybody just stops. They start talking less and less and less. And we don't share feelings. We don't share ideas. We don't share our thoughts and opinions, because everything we say is going to get turned against us at some point.
So do you think that's
embarrassing?
Okay, so is that the culprit? Is that the? Is our ice maker on?
I think so. I think I heard it last night too. Your face.
Okay, so mad.
You got the rage in you today.
I really don't. I mean, I do now. That beginning of this episode, like, I will be revving now. I will be on a low RPM of anger now. because like you don't even show like you don't show happiness. You don't show like I think it's embarrassing to show publicly or in certain scenarios how you're dealing with it. I do think it's embarrassing to show anger or sadness. Like, I'm obviously kind of kidding for the sake of the podcast of how I'm angry, but I'm also doing it in a way that I think is okay. If I actually started yelling at you and like throwing shit and like
you have never
having a tantrum, that's embarrassing. Or like when people get mad and snap at people or like get aggressive with their words, I'm like, you should be embarrassed for yourself. Like, I think that's a weak trait in a person.
Sure.
So I understand the embarrassment of that. I don't understand the embarrassment of showing like, yeah, that was cool. Or like, yeah, I like this. I'm enjoying myself.
Yeah. Well,
like also weakness to me. Like that's a weak trait, I think.
Saying, oh, that's cool.
No,
or not being
able to do that.
Well, again, I think in my family, like it's so many things, but it's like I can remember examples of it being done to me and me doing it to other people in my family where it's like something funny happens or whatever, and then you just like look at that person like, you think it's funny, and it's like just that attention of like, oh, they're seeing me like, it's probably vulnerable. They're seeing me be a little bit vulnerable of like happy and laughing, or they'll be like, oh, you're happy.
And that's what I'm saying.
And that is so embarrassing to us.
That's okay.
Like, don't put the attention on me.
I get it. I'm not like, you guys, that's ridiculous. Like, I do understand that. I just think like, what went wrong? Where did this, because we are very different in this way. We're realizing. Like, yeah. Where did that turn to where where did that turn to where showing joy or happiness or laughing at something, where did that turn into vulnerability? Like, why is that vulnerable?
I don't know. I guess I feel like by definition, it's vulnerable. Showing any emotion is vulnerable.
Even if it's but okay, so break that down. Like, I get the sadness and the anger and those ones, like negative and positive. I get the negative ones of that being vulnerable because that also maybe shows action or something was done to you, or you might cry or yell or whatever. But the happiness ones and like the showing interest in something or laughing, like, why is that vulnerable? Because that could be taken away from you. Could it be used against you? Could it show something about you that like you're not open with your family, so you don't want them to know?
I think like it could be used against you. I think it's also like it's an opening for judgment as well. And I think that's maybe a big one, is it's like something that you think is funny or makes you happy or whatever, like you're opening the doors to judgment then. Of like, oh, that makes you happy? Like, that's so weird. Or why does that make you happy? Like, that shouldn't make you happy.
So that is like just so like not okay. So that's so not having like the self-awareness or the confidence. Like, totally. You're questioning like, am I being a regular person? Because like you saying that like, oh, that's weird to be happy with that. So you're almost like, I'm just gonna put a mask on all the time, just so that
I don't have
I'm not.
Judgment.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's about avoiding the judgment and the embarrassment that comes with if somebody disagrees with you or thinks that it's stupid that you find that funny, find that sad, find that happy. It's like, why would you be mad about that? Or why would you be happy about that? I think a lot of it comes from that. Like,
are you like that with everybody, you think?
Oh, I'm so judgmental. My whole family's super judgmental.
No, I know, but like, do you feel like you talk that way with me? Because there's definitely like like an undertone of that.
Yeah, I'm super judgmental of everybody and everything all the time.
Oh no, I get that you are judgmental, but is that like such a baseline of emotions that is just who you are, of not wanting to share because of the judgment? Like, you just think no matter who you are, I'm going to get judged with feeling anything? Or is it certain people, like, well, I could do it a little bit more with that person, a little bit less with that person. New person, it's a stranger, so I'm definitely going to put my guard up even more. Guard up as in, like, not showing anything.
I think it varies. Yeah. I think it varies person to person. Yeah, but most of the time I'm trying not to show emotions because it's open for judgment then. And then being confronted with that, because that's the other thing is like, I know I keep grouping me and my family, and some of them may disagree with stuff, which is fine. This is just my point of view, but we're all bad at confrontation. So it's like, not only are you getting judged, and that's embarrassing, but then if we have to talk about it, we're not good at confronting and talking about it. So it's like, it's just layers of no good. So it's like, I'll just hide my emotions and how I feel about this thing and just like make everything very monotone, and I'm not going to show that I'm happy. I'm not going to show that I'm sad. I'm not going to show that I'm angry. I'm not going to show that I'm just not going to show anything and give anything. It's a lot of just like the beginning of the podcast, like, yeah, Billie Eilish is cool.
Got it. Okay.
And then if somebody's like, really, I don't think she's cool, and it's like, yeah, she's really not that cool.
So is that a slam to me in a positive way of like, was that me putting your vulnerability out there?
No, I didn't feel that way.
Like, guys, he said he liked it.
No, not at all. And I don't.
Okay.
I mean, that's where it's like, with certain people, and it's different. Like, I don't feel like I hide that much from you anymore. I hide more, which is horrible, but I feel like I hide more of the happy joy with you than anything. Like, I'm not embarrassed to get pissed or mad or...
And I'm like, definitely should be.
It's more the like... yeah, it's... I think there's something about... There might be something about like anger and mad that's less vulnerable because there's some sort of aggression attached to it, that you're already kind of in that state of like,
sure,
I can defend myself. To where like happy and joy and funny and whatever is so much more vulnerable to me, because you're not like, it's like you're really opening up to that. To where anger and mad, I'm like closing everything, and I'm like, I'm ready to attack. To where happy and joy, it's like, come into my house and into my brain. And it's like, that's super vulnerable.
Wow. Okay. So do you think that's a male-female thing?
I don't think so. Again, like, I think my whole family's like that.
Got it. Okay. Well, okay. Yeah, true. Because I think I am the opposite. Like, I will not show you, like you always say, like, you never see me freak out. I have worked on that so much as a kid. Like, I was the kid that would throw the plates and they'd break. Or I would...
I can't imagine you throwing a plate.
One time when I dumped my whole plate of food in the sink.
No, I don't.
Okay. So we were cooking one time, and...
This is California?
No, it's back when we were living in Wisconsin. We were cooking food, and we had, like, I had my plate of food, and I don't really know what occurred. I don't know if it was something like I was trying to put a sauce on the plate and it came out like the watery versus like the actual thickness, like I didn't shake it up or something.
Yeah.
And this is such a a theme of how my anger used to be. Not as much anymore. Like I said, I feel like I've really tried to work on this since being a kid. But this is how it would go as a kid. I would feel something, and again, I wouldn't want people to see it. So I would push it down, push it down, push it down, push it down until I am, like I said, I'm at a low RPM now all the time. I am like revving a little bit. So then I have my plate of food and it comes out a little bit more watery. That it's just waiting to be ignited. So now I am full aggression and I just dumped my whole dinner in the sink and put it down the drain. Because I could not in that moment go, wow, that was really annoying that just happened.
Yeah.
Like that was too much for me to process. It was
just make it worse.
I am angry. I need to do an aggressive action.
Yeah.
So it's like whether that's, I didn't do it at people most of the time, but it would be throwing the plate in the sink, or it would not really be in front of people most of the time, but like I would be the person that would throw things or break things, or it needed to be an outward do something.
Yeah.
That would be so beyond, like I don't want to be like that. I don't want to show the aggression like that. I don't want to freak out. So I'm happy that you're like, I couldn't even imagine you doing that. That's perfect. Same thing with showing any sort of because it's not sadness, but like an extreme overwhelming feeling would be not good. Like when people like cry over their kids, I would die before that happens. Just kidding. I probably would, but I'd probably would just get comfortable with that. But
well, that's where
showing happy and joy, and like I will be the most over the top dorky with that, and I have no shame or embarrassment at all.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh my God, I love this coffee right now. It's like, I couldn't imagine anyone in your family saying that.
No, absolutely not.
They'd be like, and that's where my reactions with them, where how I say like my embarrassment is, if I feel a little bit embarrassed or I could sense like, oh, that could be embarrassing, I will just double down. Like I just do that with everything. So it's like, yeah, I could see doing that. Like, God, aren't you guys just so into this right now? They're like, calm down.
That's how I feel 95% of my life is, and it's.
But I'm expecting that to be also the back and forth.
And I think I understand anger and frustration more than I do like the happy over the top joy. Because like I have been there of so pissed off and so frustrated. And it's like when I see people like that or doing that, that isn't embarrassing to me at all. Because I'm like, that seems more real than anything. Like you going like, God, I just love this coffee right now. I'm like, you are being so over the top and that's so untruthful.
Oh, Stop. See, to me, that is so, it is the most truth.
And that is probably 100% correct. It's just my experiences, I connect way more to the anger and the frustration. Like that I have experience with, so that is true to me. I've never been like so over the moon joyous and happy and whatever. Like I don't even know what that would feel like. And when I see other people doing that, I'm like, stop, calm down. Like it's not that great. Mm-hmm. Which sucks. Like I'm not saying that that's a good thing.
Right.
It's super judgmental and it should be stopped. It's a problem.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Just like the embarrassment thing. Like you want to be who you are, but you're so tied up because of being embarrassed. Like that's a huge barrier happening. And the embarrassment is just like, I don't know, they're maybe interchangeable a little bit. Like the being judged results in embarrassment. So it's like, it's really about being judged and just not caring about being judged. But you also I don't think you want to be the person has no radar for that.
No radar for embarrassment?
yeah.
Oh, yes, I agree.
Like, those people do suck. Like, we talked about the other day of when we were living in California and went to, what is it? The Americana?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what it's called?
I think so.
It's just like a big outdoor shopping mall thing or whatever. And we were just sitting by a fountain, and it's like this girl was taking up an entire walkway and just like posing and taking photos. Like, had her friend taking photos, I think. I was like blocking everybody, making everybody walk around them. Like, and I just like, I would be so embarrassed to do that. Like, I don't like taking photos, period.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's embarrassing for me to take photos, even if it's just me and you. And now it's like, you have like 1,000 people here, and you're just out in the open, and not even out in the open. You're blocking everybody from being able to walk in this area. It's like, you should be embarrassed. And maybe you shouldn't be embarrassed. Maybe that's the wrong word, but you should be aware that you're taking up all the space. Like, it's not even embarrassment. It's just like, you're being disrespectful. But what I connect to is like, I would be so embarrassed to do this. And it's like, you always want to go do a podcast on the beach. I would be so embarrassed if somebody walked by and saw us doing that.
I would too.
That'd be so embarrassing.
Yeah, no, that would be embarrassing.
And like,
I wouldn't like that either.
Watching people do vlogs or take videos, and they're just like out in public, like with their camera, talking into a camera, walking by people. I'm like, how do you do that? That is so embarrassing.
Yeah.
There's just like, putting yourself out there at all, to me, is so embarrassing.
Yeah.
And it's like what we've talked about the other day too, of, it's not that I necessarily don't want to do this. I'm lazy by nature. So it's like, I don't want to do anything ever. But what I really don't want is people to talk to me about the podcast. That's so embarrassing.
Even if they're like, guys, I love it. It's so good.
Yes. I'm like, don't tell me you watch it.
Oh,
I don't want to know that you watch it. Like, I don't want it. I want this to like be hidden from everything. Like, I want to be so isolated away from it and out of it. That's like, people watch it and hopefully they enjoy it and they like it, and that's great. Don't bring it up to me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not like that, but I could see how you are like that.
Yeah. And then to me, I'm like
the ways that you are embarrassed, it makes sense to me. It tracks. I don't understand. Like, I don't relate to it, but I think that's what's interesting with embarrassment, is it's so unique to the person.
Yeah.
I do think because most of your family members are like this, I wonder, what is this, a nature or nurture thing? Like, are you guys just born with this shame of self?
Yeah, I don't know.
Not that I want to get into it, because it's like we're talking about other people, but I just think that's interesting that a group of people could, because it's like so specific to the same things, that maybe is that just like a pattern of you were consistently made fun of for the same stuff? Because like, for me, it's stupid. I was always getting made fun of for being stupid.
So you're
made
sensitive
fun
to
of,
that.
but like, it was pointed out a lot.
Yeah.
To where like that became the identity, was Courtney stupid.
It's so crazy. Like, I've never thought that.
You didn't talk to me enough.
Well, because I don't. It's like, we're all stupid.
Sure.
Like, but you're extremely smart in ways too.
Sure. But
Just like, I'm dumb as hell, but then smart in other ways. It's like, that's everybody.
sure.
And it's like, I don't even know where yeah, whatever. I've never understood that. I've never, like, oh,
You like think I'm lying, like this never happened.
well, maybe it's just, I just have this natural feeling to defend you. Cause I'm like, who told you that? They're fucking stupid. Like, they're stupid for saying that. Like, how little of a brain do they have?
Well, I think a part of that, where this came about, the stupid thing is, I don't know if it's just like it's like a comparison game to where like I was surrounded by people that were just smarter than me in the ways that you measure intelligence as a kid. It's like, I think I'm very capable in a lot of ways. You throw me in a traditional education system, there's gonna be holes.
But even that,
we're gonna shed some light.
You have such a bad. You're stupid. You have such a weird point of view of that. Like, you didn't get bad grades, and then it's like, well, I had to work harder than. Okay, but that shows a lot of intelligence.
I know, and that's what I'm saying. That was not pointed out in a traditional sense of that is still intelligence, that emotional intelligence is still valued, that capability is still valued, that to be able to like critical think is valued. It's just, do you understand what the teacher is saying? Yes or no. You don't, then you're stupid. Not like, okay, yeah, I got good grades because I knew how to time manage. I knew how to follow deadlines. I knew how to study. I knew how to work with what I could do. It's like, yeah, that's very intelligent.
Yeah.
That is not measured.
Yeah, and I think
a kid, necessarily.
You think intelligence is somebody is teaching something, I have to retain it right now. That's not intelligence. It's maybe a form of it, but that's also not how most people are that are able to do that. Mm-hmm. Like, they do need to study. They do need to take notes and write stuff down or whatever. So it's like, I think you had this just because you couldn't take the information or direction from one time, like them saying it one time, you're like, I'm stupid. It's like, they need to explain it and dissect it and whatever. Or here's your directions, and then you need it to be said to you maybe a few times. It's like, that's not stupid.
Well, and it might not even be picked. It's also just, I didn't know there was different styles of learning either. Learning. Like,
I know there was different styles of learning.
You could tell me it time and time again. I may not pick it up. You show me how to do it, I'll probably get it on the first try. Like, the way that I was in school versus the way I was in dance, I'm not the same brain.
Yeah.
Like, I can pick things up very fast. I can retain a lot. I can, like, whatever.
Bragging.
I'm still not like that with traditional information.
Sure.
Necessarily.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. Going back to, I don't know why. I'm,
it's just growing up, you have this rubric of, this is what a smart kid is, this is what a dumb kid is. The smart kids can pick things up quickly. They understand what the teacher is saying right away. They know how to replicate it. They understand the systems and why it makes sense. Like, I think of math, like, it's not just, I understand this. I understand that plus that equals that. It's like, you understand the concept of it. I always was like, I'm just kind of bullshitting my way through this, to where I see some people where I'm like, oh, you actually get this. Like, this is connecting to you.
Yeah, totally. But I think that's subject by subject. You just
put yourself in a box.
Yeah. And I'm not trying to say, like, I don't know. I'm not trying to be like, you shouldn't have, like, I mean, a little bit, like, you shouldn't have felt that way. Like, there should have been people telling you, like, you're not dumb. It's just this situation. And it's actually, you're really smart for the way that you're handling it and getting by and doing what you're doing. Because there's plenty of kids that were the same as you, but then wouldn't work hard to get it done and to do it. So
sure.
So they were getting D's and F's. So it's like, you're getting A's and B's. It's like that. I don't know how that shows that you're dumb. It's like, because you can't pick it up on the first explanation. It's like, okay, well, not all of us can be this person.
Sure. Yeah. And maybe that's not, I get it for adults, but that's not valued to kids. Like,
right.
kids calling me stupid. It's like, okay, so it's not just me noticing this. Like,
Sure.
other people are picking up that there's a deficiency here.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't
But,
know.
and
It's
there's also
you're
just,
a kid. You're stupid. All of us are stupid.
there's
That's why we're here. We're all stupid. That's why we have to go to school. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that's really I don't know.
That's where your embarrassment is?
That would be where the embarrassment is, and just like where I find weakness.
Like in yourself?
Yes. Like weak traits, that's what I would be embarrassed by. Or like lack of.
Sure. Yeah, pretty much everything's embarrassing to me.
Well, because like I said, like showing extreme emotions in a negative way, or showing that, like, if I'm in a conversation and I'm getting riled up, and then say creating a scenario, picture yourself if I'm in a conversation with someone and they're making me mad, and then I change my conversation because now I'm acting upon the anger at them, or I'm feeling angry and now I'm talking through anger, that would be embarrassing to me, because I'm losing control.
Sure. Yeah.
Like anywhere where I'm not in control of myself, that's embarrassing.
Yeah.
Because then it's like, I want to be the person that is on top of it all the time. So that would show I slip up.
Yeah. There was something that I had read that there was differences, I mean, like technical definitions between embarrassment and shame. I think embarrassment was something that you view, kind of like you view yourself in a certain way or how you're supposed to operate. And then if you are not doing that, that's where the embarrassment can come from. It's something like morally, like you maybe morally think that something should be a certain way, but society doesn't view that as to be. So it's like, even something like that, like you feel like you should be operating or being in control, but you're not being. Everybody else would maybe say, like, you don't necessarily have to do that or be that way, but you feel like you have to be that way. That's embarrassing. The shame thing, I think, was like society thinks like this is morally wrong and you shouldn't do this. And that's where that's where the shame is it's the same mechanism of like you're doing something wrong, but one is society thinks this is wrong versus just like you think this is wrong.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's interesting.
And there's actually a part in the brain that they've been able to find that like people with Alzheimer's or dementia, this part in the brain becomes smaller and smaller and smaller, and the embarrassment goes away. So it's like
that's why old people will say crazy stuff.
They'll say crazy stuff. They'll like take food off of people's plates and just like do random stuff that would be embarrassing before, but that part of their brain has gotten smaller and smaller because of the Alzheimer's and dementia, that they just don't have the embarrassment anymore. So they just do random whatever. And then people are like, you can't do that. And they're like, why? Like, who cares?
So then you think about kids, and we, maybe not as much as you, but like when you teach kids for multiple years, or like you just see them, they're like certain ages, you can see when that embarrassment starts to tap in.
Yeah.
Like it's so clear and obvious, because they'll like something that they were fine talking about before, now they're like more hesitant, or like they get red when they talk about it. And it's like, that's so weird. Like 2 months ago, you would have had no problem talking about it, or your younger sibling talks about it and it's fine, but then you're getting weird by it. It's like there is such a shift.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's something developmentally in the brain where their awareness of self becomes heightened at that age.
Yeah, and it could be something as simple as like that part of the brain is growing.
Yeah. Because it happens so much earlier than like what we think, like, oh, puberty. Like you start to look weird. Sure. It's like, it is so much younger than that.
Yeah.
that, yeah, maybe it's something with that.
Well, and I feel like going back to my family with it too, I feel like we had a household where it was like,
They're going to hate you after this podcast.
that's okay. That like you could.
No, they're probably like, someone sees me. Yes. We need to have like a collective group chat. But like, so let's stop doing that, right, guys?
Yeah.
Let's stop making fun of you.
There's something so fun about like what our household was able to do of like, we just always were picking on each other. And I love that about us, that it's like, we're not sensitive of like, you can't talk about this, you can't whatever. It's almost like a good gotcha if like somebody notices something and whatever. The thing that I think should have been taken better or done better was each of us being able to still go like, yeah, but don't be embarrassed about it. Like what you do of like doubling down. That's like, I maybe feel a little bit embarrassed about this thing, and now it's getting pointed out. Mm-hmm. But like, just being able to go like, yeah, so what? It's like, okay, cool. It's like as soon as you own it, that embarrassment kind of goes away.
Well, it's like getting made fun of.
Yeah.
It's like when the bully doesn't affect you, there's like, oh, okay, so I didn't get my reaction that I wanted.
Yeah.
Like there's a little part of when you're doing that, or like maybe you do that with your family, like you're making fun of like, oh, you got happy about that. Like you're wanting them to feel uncomfortable. Which is also
totally
problem, but.
Well, because like that.
So if they're like, okay, that's so worse on you then. Like, does that make you feel embarrassed? Because I've seen that interaction happen where like you'll do that to someone. We're like, oh, you're happy about that? And they're like, yeah, it's so awesome. So it's like, they're like, why are you pointing that out? Like, that's weird to point it out. Like, does that ever happen to where then they put it back on you?
Oh, I'm sure that happens. I don't typically feel embarrassment from that.
You're just like, okay, it didn't work.
Kinda, yeah. It's like,
okay.
Oh, the joke or the poking fun, like maybe not so much that it didn't work, but it was just like, yeah, I don't know. It just kind of dissipates to me. We both got our shots off and cool.
Yeah, okay.
But it's like, I love that about us. Of like, we can pick on each other. We have tough skin. Like,
well, you know, tough skin. You can pick on each other. But I think this whole conversation is showing you do not have tough skin at all.
I think maybe behind closed doors we don't have tough skin, but
you put a front on that you have tough skin.
Yeah, maybe. Which I think is a version of that. It's like what Jordan Peterson talks about bravery. Okay. It's like bravery is not going into something
feeling brave,
not afraid of it.
Yeah.
It's like bravery is I'm afraid of this and I'm still going to go into it. So it's like you the attribute of bravery is still like being scared and fearful, but pushing ahead anyways. So it's like I feel the same way with the toughness thing of like, I may be feeling, it's that thing of like, I'm feeling angry, emotional, sad, embarrassed, but I'm able to put on a front of like, I'm good.
Interesting. Okay. So, I agree with that. I'm yelling. I agree with that. I think where that starts to get sticky or just maybe not fully true is when then you're not truly acting like it's fine. Like that's when I think the weird jabs come in, or the weird I'm going to be heated and like make fun of you, but it's actually really true. Or like you hold on to it and then you're like, well, now I'm not going to talk to that person about this. Or there's this subject I'm not going to bring up because they got weird with me last time. Or
you go home and you're still holding on to that.
Yeah.
To where I think that's where it probably could have, like a more positive thing could have been like trying to just
actually have tough skin about it.
Yeah. And just like, let it go, or I don't know, just different versions of, yeah, that happened and like, this is what we do.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes you get got. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Because
That's something I used to be so bad at.
Yeah.
So bad at.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it was like, that is embarrassing to be so bad at that.
Well, and I think It's so much of it just comes back to like being judged or judgment, that I think that's really the key to it, of like, you're always going to be judged no matter what you do. Look at how many successful people in the world there are, and everybody still judges them and tries to tear them down and pull them down. It doesn't matter what you do. You can't avoid being judged or not judged. So I think it's just trying to keep that in your mind of like, I'm going to be judged regardless. If I stay super reserved and don't say anything, or I'm monotone and I don't give anything up, versus I'm way crazy out there, like emotions flying all the time, you're judged either way. And I think that's going back to the beginning of the conversation of like, that's where you just have to find, where are you in that, and like really be that. Because like, I feel like I'm probably like most people, I'm very in the middle of that. Like I'm not somebody that gets overly excited about really anything. That just doesn't naturally happen and come up. I'm not like so excited about something, I'm just like trying to hide it and push it down. But I'm not like, I will avoid showing any bit of excitement or happiness because I don't want to be judged about it. To where, well, just be more you. Like, do what's natural. You don't have to overcompensate.
Well, yeah, because you being overly excited about something probably wouldn't feel natural to you either.
Right. So it's like, fine, what are you? And then you just kind of have to stick by that. You know, like in my family, where somebody thinks something's funny or is happy, and then the other person's like, oh, you're happy. And that person just being able to be like, yeah.
Obviously. That's what you should start doing. Obviously, I'm smiling. I'm obviously, I like this. I'm laughing.
Yeah.
Just be such a brat about it.
Well, I don't think that.
Just be like, oh yeah, good one. You called out the obvious emotion that I'm having.
Yeah.
That's how I handle it.
Yes, it is.
Like, you're not gonna make fun of me. Yes, I'm smiling.
Yeah.
Obviously, I like this.
Yep.
So rude.
Yeah. But it's like, you have to get past the I'm gonna get judged, and then you have to like double down and defend yourself in a way. And maybe that's not even a good way to look at it, defending yourself, but just like not worrying about being judged, and then like taking the embarrassment on the head with it and not trying to avoid it.
Yeah.
Because so much of it is just a projection too. It's like, I think why we all do that in my family is like, we would be embarrassed about it, or we are feeling embarrassed about it. So then we're putting it on somebody else, and then that person's like, oh, should I be embarrassed about this? And then now it becomes an embarrassment.
Got it. So, okay.
And now we just all live by the same rules of everything's embarrassing
so like,
all the time.
this should be embarrassing. Like, this is a thing that you'd be embarrassed by.
Yeah.
And then everybody just knows. So then when it's happening, we all know like, oh, well, I would be embarrassed by that. So obviously you are. So let's call it out. Like, is that what it is? Like, you created like a rule book almost?
I think we kind of all, I don't know, maybe follow the same rules, but I think it's like, we're catching you in a vulnerable spot. So now it's like, gotcha.
Thinking of my family, I don't think I could. I wouldn't be able to. Not that I wouldn't be able to detect that, because like I said, like if I can tell that someone's embarrassed, I want to soothe them so immediately so that they don't feel embarrassed and they can just like feel comfortable or empowered by the situation. That
yeah, and we're not that. We're like, let's blow this up on the big screen.
Yeah, which is so wild. Like, you guys would be the opposite people I would do that with.
Yeah.
But I don't, in my family, I couldn't point that out. Like, we're so different with what would embarrass us, I think. A little bit. Well, like, there's some things where I'm like, you're comfortable right now. That's wild.
Well, and like you how I think my family's on one end of the spectrum of just like being embarrassed about everything. Your families are on the other side where it's like, there's just not really anything that embarrasses you guys. And even if that were to be like so pointed, like you'd have to be so egregious and so aggressive about pointing that out to your family, I feel like, that then they would go like, am I supposed to be embarrassed about this? And then it would almost start to manifest that potentially.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that feeling is, it just seems like it's so non-existent in your family, because nobody's probably done what my family has of like pointing those things out of like, oh, you feel a little uncomfortable, don't you?
Yeah, no.
That's like, your family might notice that and see that, and it's like they will back off or protect that person.
Yes.
To where ours is like, don't do that.
Yeah, no.
We're going to point it out.
But that I think
Because I think it's something in us that's like, we would be embarrassed.
Sure. I think in my family it was so, and this is, I think, is a positive and a negative. We were so, don't make fun of people. Like, don't make them feel bad or point out where their faults are or any of that. That's why I was so bad when we, like, in the beginning, or when I was younger, was like, I was like, holy shit, you guys are like roasting me. But it's not.
We're roasting everybody.
But to me, it was like, it wasn't funny. It was just like, oh, you're just pointing out traits in me that I like. And like but you're coming at it from a way of like, you should be embarrassed by this. This is not a good trait. I'm going to make fun of you. And I'm like,
yeah, this
is something I like. I think this is a positive in myself. Like,
you're like, wait, what?
Clearly no one thinks that around here, I guess.
Yeah.
But
it's
that
not
that
even,
could still be lighthearted and whatever.
And I think it's not even that you shouldn't like that about, like, I think this is where we're wrong, maybe. I don't even know if that's the right word, but it's like, it's not that.
It's maybe just a different kind of humor.
Well, it's all coming from a place of making fun and trying to be humorous, and we just have kind of a dark sense of humor that's like picking on people is funny to us, and getting picked on sometimes is funny and sometimes is not. We're a little touch and go with that sometimes, but making fun of things that you like about yourself, like, that's the whole, like, nothing's off limits. It's the fact that you have a feeling or an emotion is funny, and you should be picked on for that.
Well, and that's what I was just so not good at. Like, I didn't understand that humor because
you didn't ever
making fun of someone was so not allowed.
Yeah.
Which, and there's a part of that where I think was okay. I think we were like a little too much with it, but I almost like I don't have that muscle to make fun of someone and it still be lighthearted and loving and not real. Like, I remember us having so many of these conversations because you and one of your siblings would specifically go back and forth and like kind of roast each other. And I'm like, I can't play along. Like, you can roast me and that's fine, but I'm never going to reciprocate because mine will just be too real. Like, what's this scenario? Like, you like, I don't know, like making fun of each other's like bodies and like how you've changed and like whatever. And I'm like, I would just be like, you've gained weight. Like, oh, you look fatter than last time. It's like, that's obviously not funny. We're talking about the same subject of like, you're kind of skirting around like, oh, I've seen you gotten a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
Towards like, I don't know how to make that funny. We're talking about the same thing, but mine is just way too direct that there's no comical aspect to it at all. It's just like, wow, you're mean.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't have the grace with it.
No.
Yeah.
No. And I don't understand how to like create that. Like, you know, people like are good joke writers. I don't know how to put the puzzles of the words together and the cadence and like how to say it so it comes off as like, this is obviously a joke.
Well, and I think we've been doing it for our whole lives and with specifically each other. So it's like, we also have so much history with each other that we know what things have gotten laughs from each other before and what hasn't been funny, and
to where, yeah, I don't know, like, what can you say and what shouldn't you make fun of?
yeah.
To where I'm like, oh, here's a flaw. You've gained weight.
Yeah.
So then can you make fun of that? Because you're showing a happy emotion and you're getting made fun of. So
Yeah.
I don't know what's, it's because it sounds so obvious. Like, obviously you don't make fun of someone if they've gained weight.
But in my family, like,
But then
things
something
are
where I'm
so-
like, that seemed pretty vulnerable and you're making fun of them.
Yeah.
I'm like, it all just seems weird.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm just going to stay away. I'm just going to not attempt.
And it's like, I think it's one of those things. It's like you grow up in it. So it's like, I don't want, like, that's how I want our family to be. I don't want some suit and tie, can't make fun of each other environment.
No,
Like, that's
yeah,
what I like
same.
about being around
Same.
my family is
Same.
like, I'm so comfortable there, which is weird because we're talking about the embarrassment and feeling uncomfortable. But there's this other level of comfortability where it's like,
You at least know what it's going to be.
yeah, you know what it's going to be. And it's like, I don't know. Like, there is something so fun to me about picking on people
Sure.
and getting
Yeah.
picked on. Like, it's, like I said, I think the problem is we go outside, or once we leave this scenario, there's some stuff that we maybe internalize too much. So now we try to, it's almost like a weird game is happening where it's like, we know when we're around each other, we're going to pick on each other. So then we're trying to strip away anything and everything that there is to be able to pick on, which it just comes down to like emotions and whatever, just anything. So it's like, you're just trying to come to this scenario without anything being able to be picked on. Like, you have the perfect defense to where it's like, now you're out in the world and it's like, I'm not going to show any emotion or do anything with anybody ever because I'm practicing not
Someone's
having
going to yeah.
somebody's going to rip on me. It's like, I'm trying to make it so that there's nothing to be able to rip on me for.
Yeah, I would love for that to be the case. Like, I don't like how wimpy I am, or how wimpy I especially was with that stuff, that I think it's then go further. Like, be able to be made fun of, be able to make fun of other people, and do it in a classy way, not how I still don't know how to do it. But then actually not have your feelings hurt.
Yeah, you have to have, I think for me, and I think for the people in my siblings and stuff, like, we could probably all be better at having a better, just a better, like, yeah, that's who I am.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, oh no, they pointed that out, so I got to change something. It's like,
Sure.
no, just be who you are.
Yeah.
Like you said, when the embarrassment comes, doubling down on that. Like, that's totally something I'm going to try to take and try to work on.
Yeah, because I think it's then turns into like the subtle
You're making decisions.
actions.
Yeah.
Because
you're
like you do get your feelings hurt a lot. And it's very subtle. It's
Me?
very subtle. Yeah. And it's like little, because you internalize, my opinion, I think you internalize and you make little things very big, to where the digs now are, they're not as surface level anymore. Or you'll like take that and ruminate on it, versus just like, that meant nothing and they didn't, they just threw something out there.
Sure.
Like it wasn't individual to you.
They threw something out there, and I'm taking the surface level thing and making it like, oh, do they know my secret
Yes.
about me
Yes.
that I thought only I knew?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
Or like
Yeah, well,
making
my
it
brother-
all personal.
Yeah. Yeah. I it's weird. It's a weird thing to like so much, but you almost have somewhat of a unhealthy relationship with it, where it's like, oh, I just have to figure out the relationship with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because it's like, all this stuff, all these picking on and all that can be happening, and it's fun or whatever. And then there's one that maybe irks you a little. And it's like, now I'm attached to that one too much. And now I'm embarrassed, and I'm really thinking about it, and I'm really trying to, like, oh no, they know that about me. And it's like, yeah, of course they know that about you. Like, people are not that confusing.
No.
And it's also like, everybody has their things. Everybody has their things that they're not good at and that they are good at. And it's like this is where life is sometimes so obvious. Like, it's not, it's almost like there's weirdly shouldn't be anything to be embarrassed about, because like, we're all screw ups all the time, and we all have weird stuff about us, and everybody knows it. So like, there almost should be like, yeah, it's like, you've got weird shit too.
Sure.
I think that's what can be fun about the picking on people, is like, it's almost hypocritical or ironic that you're making fun of me. It's like, you've got your own stuff too. It's like, yeah, that's the fun of it.
Yeah. It dictates so much how we act, though, which is weird. Like, for me, with the rejection thing, like, there might be things that I think I push myself to do it anyways, because it's also so related to my job. Like, I have to put myself out there in such obnoxious ways, kind of. But like, it could steer me from not doing things or not going for things or not putting myself out there or putting what I like. Even I would love this to happen. It's like, even that could be, like you said, too vulnerable to then be embarrassed by, because it's so you.
Oh, well, that's the most embarrassing thing, is that
like, they're rejecting you.
The thing that you actually care about and trying to go for that or trying to do that, and then that's getting pointed out as like stupid, or why are you doing that, or even in positive ways. You know, it's like, we were talking about that too, of how many people that struggle with going and working out and trying to do that simply because, like, even if they go do it and they start to put on muscle or they start to lose weight, and then somebody points that out, it's like something like me. Like, I don't like when people talk about my body. Don't talk about it. Like, I don't, even if it's positive, it's like, I don't want to hear it. I don't want any attention. That's what that's what it is for me. It's like, I don't want the attention. Again, it's like, work on that and don't care about it. It's not a big deal. But for people that are, I think there's a lot of people that are doing that, and then it's like, oh wow, you look great the next time you see them, and they're just like, that's it. Like, I have to stop doing it, because every time I go work out and start doing something for myself, people point it out, and I don't want the attention, and I don't want to deal with it. And that is going to you're now making decisions because of the embarrassment, even though this could be things that are so much better for you. And it's just because you care about it and want it to work and want it to happen, but then it's getting pointed out, and now there's attention to it. It's like, the embarrassment just makes things so, you change your decisions and change the things you want to do, because I don't like talking on the phone in front of you.
I get that.
It's embarrassing to me.
Yeah.
I don't want you to hear me talking to somebody else.
Oh, I totally understand that.
How stupid is that? So it's like, that is,
even though, like, we talk to each other all day.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that you're going to hear me talk to someone else and how I do that.
Yes. Because it's like, I talk to people in a different way.
Yeah.
On the phone.
Yeah.
I was like, we would always talk about that with my dad. Like, he could be like pissy and yelling and just like frustrated and angry and whatever, and then he'd get on the phone and be like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
It's like, who are you? What is going on?
Like, I gotta call you more, apparently. I just gotta you're just in the living room. Yeah, I feel like you were kind of heated about that, so let's just talk on the phone about it.
Yeah. But it's just, the embarrassment thing it just runs my life. And I think when we started talking about it, like, I wonder how many people deal with that too. Of just when you start to really think about things and decisions you've made and whatever, you start to go like, oh, it's because I was embarrassed. It's because, like, I didn't want the attention from it, or I didn't want people finding out, or I didn't want people to know about it and then try to talk to me about it. It's like you just have to work on facing that, I think. And I think like what you've said of the technique of just doubling down on it. I think that's helpful because it just takes the power away from the embarrassment part of it.
That has helped me the most. Like, that's how I got over, I think, being shy. Because talking to people, being like outgoing in any sense of the word, like my job right now and what I have to do and how I like hold myself typically in like a class or something, like how I used to do that would have been so not me when I was a kid. Like I was the kid that I am seeing now at the studio where like they can't tell me their name, their parents need to introduce them, they walk into the room and they're like sitting by themselves, and like Kara was my icebreaker. Like if I just had Kara along, then I wouldn't have to do the work of like saying hi to anybody or talking or creating conversation. Like I just wanted to be in the background. No one noticed that I was there.
Yeah.
My job now is standing on stage talking to people on a microphone, and everyone's looking at me and hearing what I'm saying and how I say it and making sure I'm like I can mess up in front of people and what I'm saying is loud. Like people can hear me.
Yeah.
And same way, like I can teach in front of people. I can, like when I'm in a dance class or whatever, trying to stand out, like we talked about, like my natural rhythm of doing that is I want you to watch me. In regular scenarios, like that's why like a wedding thing, I'm like the attention is going to be the worst part. Like I just want us all to like be here, but let's not talk about why we're here because I don't want the attention of that. But in ways where I'm going to be, or I'm put in a situation where I have to be a little bit outgoing, or I'm choosing to be outgoing, I'm going to double down so that you can't make fun of me. I'm going to be over the top about it. I mean, that sounds over the top, sounds annoying, but like if I'm wearing a crazy outfit, sure, I know people are going to comment on it. So I'm not going to go like, oh, thanks. Or like, yeah, I know it's crazy or whatever. I'm gonna be like, yeah, this is cool. Or like, yeah, I was feeling like, I like it.
Well, it's another just like perfect example. Like I don't like dressing up for anything. I don't want people to comment on what I'm wearing.
Right.
I want to like every situation. I want to walk in and people just go like,
he's here.
Hey.
Yeah.
It's like, hey. And that's it. I don't want nice shoes, nice shirt, nice. Oh, your hair is different. Like, don't start pointing things out. And I wonder if that's the growing up thing of like, are you picking on me? Like, are we doing this?
Kind of like is this something that's going to come up later? Of like, so you comment on my shoes, an hour later, you're going to comment how stupid my shoes are?
Well, it's like, yeah, I'm like getting into like, okay, are we going to fight?
Yeah, got it.
It's like you're pointing things out. Whenever people point things out, it's picking on and making fun.
They're creating a list of what they're going to roast you on.
Yeah, so it's like, okay, is this your roast list?
That's great. Yeah, okay.
And it's just, I generally think people are just disingenuous about it too. That I'm like, hey, we don't have to do this.
Sure.
Like this isn't pleasantries to me.
Sure.
Like you don't have to, oh, nice, like haircut. Nobody cares, right?
Sure.
It's hair.
Yeah.
Like, unless you really are like, wow, that's a cool shirt. Where? Like,
but even that, people are doing that. I think people are doing that because the initial introduction or the initial part of a conversation is embarrassing.
Yeah.
So you're like, this is my like coping mechanism of dealing with how embarrassing this is. I'm just going to like point out everything about you.
Yeah, which is weird because I'm so much more comfortable just step in and be like, hey. Like I'm more comfortable in the silence, nobody talking, nobody saying anything to each other, rather than the like, why are we talking about my shoes?
I think, yeah. I think in some scenarios that works and it makes people feel comfortable. I think in some scenarios that makes people feel uncomfortable.
Totally.
You doing that.
Totally. I can be super uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because I'm so fine with not talking and there being nothing talked about. And other people just don't like that.
No, yeah. Yeah.
That's what I'm going to try to figure out. It's like this embarrassment thing. just how to not have it run my life.
Yeah.
Because it's just so it's destructive. Like, it's just, I don't know. Even that, like you said, like, there'll be things that do get me, and then I'm like really thinking about it and internalizing it and trying to figure out what that is and what's going on. And it's like, I think, sure, if you're trying to figure out why something bothered you or whatever, cool, but not everything needs like, it shouldn't be to the level of embarrassment.
Well, I think a lot of the times when someone makes fun of you, and it's like, I've seen that happen, where it's like, oh, that hurt my feelings. First of all, I don't like people say that. I don't like people say that hurt my feelings. Okay.
And that part, truly, I don't care about. I don't care that you hurt my feelings. That doesn't matter to me the slightest.
Well, it's like you're putting something that they said and making it about you.
Well, even if what they're saying is about you. Like, saying you're getting picked on and somebody just hits something that...
It's like some stuff will hit you and some stuff won't matter. So obviously the stuff that hits you, look at that.
Well, and to me, that's where I'm like, I don't care that somebody else potentially... Like, I don't even see it as that. They hurt my feelings. It's like...
I allowed my feelings to get hurt.
Yeah, it's like, say whatever you want. That I really don't care about.
Yeah.
The thing that I care about is like, oh, why am I embarrassed about that? Why did it make me feel weird that they said that about me?
Mm-hmm.
That's not the fact that they said anything. It's like, they should be able to say whatever they want and can say whatever they want. I don't care about... I don't then go like, wow, they're so mean. They're so whatever. Like, I don't know. Like, I shouldn't talk to them because of this. It has nothing to do with them. It's like, oh, I don't like that got me.
Sure.
It's like, how do I not be embarrassed about that? Or why am I embarrassed about that? And how do I get rid of that and fix that and whatever? Because, like, I want the open playing field. I want the, like, you dig me, I dig you, and we don't have animosity towards each other over that. And I think my family does a good job of that. I think what we don't do a good job of is we just try to strip away the things then that we try to strip away any emotion so that when somebody does dig us, we don't feel the embarrassment from it.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Rather than getting all up in arms and freaking out or whatever. It's like,
yeah.
I think we do a good job of like not making it personal and like they made me feel bad. But now we just become less connected because we're trying to avoid any emotion ever.
Well, and I think what maybe plays out is kind of like my pushing down method is like you're so trying to not be emotional that you're so emotional.
Well, it internalizes it all.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're becoming more emotional because you're just...
Because then when emotions do come out, you're like, wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, and it's not, it wasn't dealt with.
Sure.
So it's just now like, yeah, now it's just, you're embarrassed about everything.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you didn't really need to be embarrassed in the first place. And even that.
But maybe like, how you're handling it now, because it's extreme or it's coming out in weird ways or it's coming out maybe larger. Like now that maybe is embarrassing because like, well, something that you could have just been a little bit upset about, now you're like really upset about because you try to hold it back.
Yeah. And sometimes it can be as simple as like, you got me with that one. And it's gone.
Sure. But then you're also not playing the game. Because then you're not like letting them get the win.
No, I think that is.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I'm still not good at that. I will not try. Like, I will not try to make fun or roast because I don't know what. I know where my skill is and it's not there.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hurt people's, because there is like, okay, well, I can't be mad at you because you hurt my feelings. I allowed you to hurt my feelings, but I am just not tasteful enough. Like, I'll probably be over the top of hurting someone's feelings and not. Because I think I see it as like, okay, so you're trying to point out all the flaws in them and make fun of them. That's like the math and how it works in my brain.
Yeah, that's like
towards like, well, okay, but what I'm making fun of you, like I actually think that. So like I don't want you to know that, or I don't want that to come across like actually mean. Like I don't want to hurt your feelings.
It's a delicate skill.
Yeah, I don't have the skill. Which is also why I sucked so bad, and I still am not good at taking the roast, because how the math is in my head, I'm now translating that from you of like, oh, so you think that's a negative in me because you're making a joke, you think that's a negative, because if I was going to make fun of you, I would see that I would look for your negatives.
Yeah, and I think it's more layered than that. Like it's not even that it's a negative. Like I said, it could be a positive. It could be like, oh, you're happy, you're laughing, you think that's funny. It's literally just like trying to make a joke and make an observation and point something out that is happening that maybe makes them feel a little bit uncomfortable, but it doesn't need to be like, it's not positive. It doesn't have to be positive or negative. There's no like, I think that's the thing of like making fun or picking on people, is it's not supposed to be like what you're saying of, I can't do it because I would just get mean and very direct. Yeah. Like that's not what it is. It's the like, very almost weightless observation that can just make somebody feel a little uncomfortable. And then I think as you get to know the person, you know what weight to use and how much weight you can use. Like even that, which with each of my siblings, there's a certain amount of weight I can use with each of them.
Sure.
Like
sure.
One of my brothers, I can almost say anything.
Yeah.
And then it's like, from there it goes on the list of can't say as much, can't say as much, can't say as much. And I think
that's like
just
too advanced for me, I think.
I think that's just like knowing the person, knowing the relationship, knowing what has been said in the past or what the picking on, making fun of has been. Like, that's just all about relationships. You know, it's like, how much can you dig and how much you can't.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like you meet somebody new, you're not going to be like, nice shirt, douche.
Right.
You're not going to do that. But as you maybe get to know that person, those things can start to come a little bit more and more. So it's like you have a certain amount of weight you can throw at each person. But then it's like, it doesn't even, it can be the stupidest stuff. Like, it doesn't have to be super negative, super positive. You know, it could be some, like, it could be like, wow, you really love your kids, huh? And it's just like,
yeah. And to me, if I heard that, like, if that was a joke at me, I would internalize that as, okay, so it's obvious to everybody that I'm the annoying parent that loves their kid too much, talks about their kid too much, brags about their kid when like your kid sucks. But I think so it's like, I would go like, my kids obviously suck from that then. Because you're saying I shouldn't feel that way about them.
But it's, again, there's so many layers because there's also context to that then. And it's like, it could be something so stupid that's happening, and that's what makes that phrase funny.
You're just like explaining basic talking to me, and I'm like, not a human. Like, I don't understand.
But I'm not, because there's so much context. Because like, yeah, you would feel that way if the situation was like you were trying to actually parent and seriously parent and whatever. Where that, like, that would not be a good time to use that. A good time to use that would be something that it's so innocuous and so weightless and not anything. And then you use it there. I think that's what makes and it's not even a dig. It's just like that's just more like a joke to use to be funny.
Yeah. Ooh, I can't comprehend.
Yeah.
The math doesn't make sense to me. Like, I can't.
It's like
I don't know how to separate what's light enough to, because I don't want people, like, I don't want to make people feel bad. I don't want to make people feel embarrassed. I don't, like you said, like making them uncomfortable. I try so hard to go away from that.
Which is funny because like how you naturally are makes everybody in my family uncomfortable.
And that is just something I can't change.
Exactly.
But it's not like I'm trying to make you guys uncomfortable. It's just who I am, you don't like.
No, it's not that we don't like.
You hate me all. You all hate me. I'm never coming back.
No, it's
But it does. It makes them uncomfortable, but not that I can't do anything about it. I have
tried to tone it.
I've put a dimmer switch. Like when I'm around, I know, okay, this is the version of Courtney. This is the level I can be.
And this is what I think is not talked about, of like, that is very mature and helpful to do. If you are only you all the time around everybody, that to me is having little emotional maturity, and I guess just maturity in general. Like, you should be changing situation to situation. It's like that.
Well, same like you said, you can make fun of certain brothers that you can't the others.
Exactly. And your level of like, I don't know, just like who you are, I guess. There's times where you tone that down because it makes people uncomfortable if you're like that too much. Mm-hmm. And then there's times where you can ramp that up because that's actually more comfortable for this group of people.
Oh, totally.
And I think people are like, no, you should just always be who you are. It's like, no, that's not assimilating and being.
Well, because in the same way that you're trying to show different, maybe not different personalities, but like you try to be funny. That's something you try to do. So say I'm trying to do that. Like the people that I work with and my friends at work, they like Courtney at top full blast is the Courtney they like. If I was who I was with your family, they'd be like, who is this boring chick that's like kind of a dud and like brings the party down? But like that's the level of like, okay, she's lively enough, but like not unmanageable. Yeah. To where for them, that's the RPMs that they run at. So they're like, this is normal.
And just with the humor stuff too. It's like the humor changes with each person in each group.
Well, yeah, that group is 30 plus. This group is very young 20s.
Yeah. Well, and there's a relationship that's built here and a appropriateness here, and then there's a different one over here. Yeah. And it's like you learn and you mold and you figure that out. But I've never understood, like, just be yourself anywhere you go. It's like, no. Like, that's rude to me. Mm-hmm. Like, you should be molding and changing and being different in different environments because this environment is different and it requires different things. Right. And it's like you being like, and that's something that I'm trying to work on, is not being the dull dud, because I'm the opposite. Like,
you are that everywhere you go.
I'm that everywhere I go, to where now that, like you said, that makes people uncomfortable. Sure. Towards like, I need to work on livening it up in these different areas, and because that's the environment in this area.
Where people take the don't be yourself is, I think they take that as I'm putting a mask on and I'm being a different person everywhere I go, versus, okay, well, with this group of people, I can be this, and this group of people, I can be this. Both of those are still me. But like with the making fun of or whatever. In this group of, like, the reason why I think the annoyance, or like I'm a little bit whatever, doesn't gel with your personalities, your guys' personalities. Like, I'm not going to get embarrassed by that. I will show you my emotions. I will be outward with that and outwardly showing that. You're not going to get me on that. So that's something where I don't need to walk into the room and have an entrance, which also that's my way of making me feel comfortable because I'm coming into a room that I maybe don't feel comfortable in. So I'm trying to make myself feel comfortable, understanding you're not going to like how I do that. So find a way to not do that anymore. But I'm not going to be a different version that isn't me of now I'm going to make fun of people. Now, when you make fun of me, like I'm going to show you that it hurts my feelings, even though it doesn't. Or like, you're not going to embarrass me with those things. I'm not going to assimilate to like, okay, well, the group is like this, so I'm going to be like this. It's like, well, I don't relate to that at all. That's where I think it could get funkier, maybe where people think that's what that phrase means. Is like, well, they're like that, so you have to be like that because that's what they find funny or good to be around.
I think it's more just like matching the energy of the place.
Yeah.
Rather than like the specifics of what is happening or going on. It's like, yeah, you maybe know not to walk into a gathering with my family and be this like, be what you would be at work.
Because at work, or maybe even just with my family, not coming in with an entrance, it's going to be like, what's wrong with them?
Yeah, it's not like, are they
now
upset?
You're drawing the attention to you.
Yeah, totally.
So.
Yeah, and I don't think that that's bad. Like I think that's, because I think that that's you're stepping outside yourself and you're playing a role in this group. And I think we don't do that enough of, this is about the environment. It's the whole like team sport thing. This is about the team. Mm-hmm. It's not about you. Mm-hmm. Like, how does the team work best? Well, when I'm with them in this environment, like, this is the energy that it's at. So I should try to be at this type of energy, because now the whole thing can work well and be cohesive and be.
Well, because they're not sticking out.
You're not sticking out. You're not, like you said, you're not drawing attention in a negative way where it's like, oh, she's like super over the top and just like won't stop talking and won't stop being like super happy and cheerful about everything. Or the opposite of like me, where it's just like, what's wrong with him? What's going on? Why is he so dull and not saying anything and not doing anything?
Right.
I think you're just drawing negative attention. And it's like, now you're making everybody feel uncomfortable there. Mm-hmm. To where it's like, sometimes you just got to adapt.
Yeah.
It's like, I think it's healthy to adapt because you're making this cohesive, you're playing the role.
Yeah.
It's a team sport.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah.
Next week, we will be talking about phases of fitness, phases of life. I feel like we're really into that, or at least I am. I'm really into that right now, of like understanding the phases of life and that those can change and probably will just force you to change anyways, that your life is not going to be just once you figure it out, it's going to be that way forever. That fitness, I think, is with that too. Like being honest with what phase of life that you're in and how to be successful the best way that you can with that phase of life.
Yeah. All right.
See you next time.